Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Joseph Butler, and I just want to introduce our host for today. For over 30 years, Bonnie DeJong has played a role in Chicago radio, coming to us across the airwaves of WGCI, WVAZ, and WSRB. At the same time, she has demonstrated genuine compassion for the growth and development of our city. Her show, Bonnie's Eye, is evidence of her commitment to leaving her listeners informed, and we're excited to have Bonnie DeJong as our host today to ensure that the information about vacant lots is shared with the community.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Joseph, for that wonderful introduction. Welcome to our seminar. And before I introduce our wonderful presenter, I want to let everyone know that if you have any questions, always type them into the Q&A section, not the chat section, the Q&A section. And we'll get to as many of them as we possibly can after we finish the presentation. So now I'd like to introduce you to our presenter. The presenter is Kathleen Dickett. Kathleen started her role with the city as Assistant Commissioner 24 years ago. Since that time, she's been named the Deputy Commissioner of the Bureau of Citywide Planning and Historic Preservation in the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development. So, it is time to get started, and I bring on to you Kathleen Dickett.
Good morning. Unfortunately, my video is not working, but the presentation should be working. And is that up, people? Because what I'm going to do is go over the basics of ChiBlockBuilder, and then we will also be going over the map and how to navigate that, and then we will be taking questions. So it's a video. I gotta pause.
Yes, sorry, just a sec. Let me pull the video up.
You all right, go back in. She can't put you in.
No, the video.
So sorry, I just had it up and now I cannot find the presentation. 1 minute.
I have no idea. Probably not helpful.
So we will get started in just a moment, but I guess overview, a few things I'll tell you while we're waiting for the presentation. We opened this application process for, here we go, city-owned lots in mid-November. So ChiBlockBuilder is a new web platform that the city has launched, which actually provides the opportunity for residents and other people to apply for city land for a variety of uses. And we will be taking all applications, or as many as possible, through this process. So we'll go through that. And again, we're going to go through just the overview of how ChiBlockBuilder works. Margaret is going to manage the map. And unfortunately, I didn't know that you were going to also manage the PowerPoint, Margaret, but thank you. And then we will have plenty of time to take questions, and there will be questions in the chat. All right, so next slide, please. So we launched the sale process to provide opportunities. And I would also say to provide transparency so everyone can see the land the city has for sale and what is available for purchase. This has been a big step for us, but we think it'll make it a lot easier for people to activate city-owned vacant land in line with the priorities of each community. Next slide, please. So what we're trying to do is market land to encourage development and maintenance, prioritize sales to neighbors and individuals from the community, make land sales programs more efficient and easier for applicants, and increase the transparency about the land the city owns and the process itself. We are not trying to sell land to any arbitrary or non-strategic way. We're just not opening it up to the world for anybody to just take land. We are not also inclined at all to sell land to speculators that will just keep the vacant land. That is something that we totally are trying to avoid, and that's why we have an application process, and we are asking applicants to let us know how they intend to get the land activated. And the land should be used for the priorities of the community. Next slide, please. So this is what you're going to see on ChiBlockBuilder, and these are the 4 different avenues for applications, and they're aligned with the kinds of uses that the land is used for. And these are not atypical uses, what you see out in the community, right? So we're looking for applicants for housing, both affordable housing, and those projects will be in line with our Department of Housing's affordable housing projects. And also there's opportunities for market rate housing. We're looking for applications for side yards from residents who own property next to city-owned vacant lots. We're looking for commercial opportunities. I would say that the city owns about 80% of the land the city owns is residentially zoned. So we do not have as many commercial lots available, but we do have some, and we wanted to make those available. And then there's a category for open space, regardless of the zoning, that where either residents or organizations or businesses want to activate land in some productive way for people to gather or use in their community. So those are the 4 types of uses that we will be looking for. And when you fill out an application, we would like you to go fill out an application that is close to what it is you want to do with the land. Next slide. Key takeaways. Okay, in order to purchase land, you must have a feasible plan for the property. Land will not be sold to speculators. Again, what is it that you want to do with the land? I would add, we're not asking you to get architects at this point, but we do want to know if you're able to move, if you want to build a building. Applications from local homeowners and small local developers are the priority. This is not the first time we'll be doing this platform. It's our first pilot. So do bear with us, but there will be future rounds because there is a lot of land that needs to be reused. Land will be available for sale at market rate for commercial and market rate housing developments, and at 10% of market rate for adjacent neighbors and community open space projects. And there are resources available to help with this application. And some of those resources are here, and you'll hear a little bit more about them. Next slide, Margaret. So we opened the application process on November 17th. This is our 3rd, I think, webinar. We've been out in the community last night and different, at the behest of, at the request of different aldermen. We've been at various meetings and we will continue to do so. Applications close February 3rd, and we will notify applications in the end of April. It will take us a while to go through all the applications, make sure they're eligible, and then work to see which applications will be the ones that we should proceed with. And then we hope to move towards city council action in May and June, because this is an application process. We still need to go through the legislative process of going through city council for approval for the sales. Next slide, Mark. How do you know what's available for sale? You're moving to the map. So how do you know what's available for sale? We will move through the map, but here's an image of what you will find on ChiBlockBuilder. So I would just point out that you'll see blue and gray on the map. Blue, and you can see in the legend over there to the far right on the slide, blue are the lots that are available for sale, and the gray are the lots that are not available at this time.
All right,
So you're going to move to the map, and we are you moving to the map, Mark? Because I'll just say why you will see what you're doing. So I want to point out that the lots that are for sale have all received an environmental clearance. This is one of the reasons that it has taken us a while to get this to get to this point. And I have said in many meetings that if you were a 2018 large lot purchaser and your application was received, we are still tracking you. So do not worry about that. But if you are worried, put your name in the chat and we will definitely follow up and confirm that with you. So you'll be able to see this map. Again, blue are lots for sale. Gray are lots we're not selling at this time. But as I said previously, there will be more rounds as we get to, excuse me, clearing them, getting an environmental clearance for them. You would click on a lot and it'll be there'll be a pre-screener. You'll go to be led to an application and we'll lead you through this in a minute. All lots tell you why they're not available. And I do want to point out that there's also an I'm interested button. So if the blue lots and it's not really the one you want because for a variety of reasons, use the I'm interested button. And the reason that we have added that is because we do have a lot of lots to go through the environmental clearance process. And this is going to help us prioritize the lots that we want to get through that process, because we're seeing that there's interest in buying those lots. So next slide. How you're going to be supported. Again, we have these virtual sessions. We have a helpline. You can see at the bottom the number to call. We have English and Spanish speakers. There are application guides and checklists. We are in the process of sending out postcards to all of the residents next to city-owned vacant lots. So you should get a postcard. We will also are in the process of putting signs on those lots so that you can see the lot that is available, or that I should say that is available for sale by the city. Not all the vacant land out there is owned by the city, but we are putting those on, sending those out and putting those signs on now. And so again, contact us. You can see the number on the screen. You can go to info ChiBlockBuilder, which also has the phone number on it. We're ready to work with it. The next slide. And oh yes, you will see. So how do you know if it's 10%? What's the price? How do we come up with the price? So we have partnered, DPD has partnered with CBRE real estate firm. And what they did is a market assessment of each property. And the way they did that, you can see the bullets below there, is they actually looked at what vacant land was selling for in the vicinity, in the area around the city-owned vacant lots, right? Because every area is just a little bit different in terms of the real estate market. They collected these sales prices, they looked at the comparables, they analyzed them. And this is basically the same process that an appraiser would use when you're selling your house. So you will see on the website the market assessment, and then it also will let you know that if you're a resident owner for adjacency, the price would be 10% of whatever that value is. So that value, the values vary across the city because markets vary across the city, but that also has been done. So with the environmental clearance and the price already established, that assists us in making the process move faster than ever before, because all that work was done for each individual sale in the past. Next slide. And how did we get to the 2,000 lots? Well, any parcels where we had existing projects, we are not marketing those, right? So as I said, anything that was a previous large lot applicant that was approved that we have not closed on, those are not on there. They're not blue. There's planning projects in certain areas. For example, in Best Southwest corridors or along the Red Line extension, or other areas where there are big projects. And in the vicinity of those, we are not marketing those yet, but we will. And at that time, those will be marketed with a little bit more direction on what the community expects to see on those lots, because we're going through a planning process and working that out. We also have areas working with Department of Housing where we want to make sure we're preserving or promoting affordable housing. We have met with all the aldermen beginning in July to make sure that we're all understanding what lots are being marketed. And again, environmental clearance mean there were no or limited historical records of concern on this site. So any records the city has, team has gone through those and has not identified anything that should be a cause for concern. How are we going to score those applicants? Again, if you look, priority will be given to buyers living on the block, residents of Chicago, small developers. We are prioritizing new housing construction along with side yards for neighbors and then open space projects. We do need to see that there are plans and designs. So certainly if you're building a house, we need to see, and you will be asked this in the application, for indications of what your plans or designs are and some kind of timeline. Also that your existing with your ideas are consistent with existing zoning. And for open space, a clear plan means you're going to fence it and put a bench and plant some trees. We are not asking again for architectural renderings or anything at this time or plans, but we do want to we want to see that you have a realistic idea of what you're going to do with the land so it doesn't stay vacant. We need to get this, we need to secure the vacant land. We will want to see experience in similar projects. And again, that varies by the type of project. Financing, some idea that you have some financing to do either a housing development or even getting a fence or a bench. And then what's the benefit going to be to the neighborhood and your block in particular? Okay, land sale application example. So before we go to that, I think, Margaret, you're going to walk them through the map. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Or I shouldn't say the map, excuse me, the website that includes the map, the applications, a number of FAQs that can answer some of your questions. But of course, we're here to answer those as well.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so to start the process, I'm going to go to chicago.gov/blockbuilder, where I can see all the information about the program. You'll see up here previous recordings from other information sessions, some basic information about the program, and then the eligible land uses. So if I'm interested in purchasing a side yard, I might want to learn more. I would click on this, view what I need to actually submit an application, make sure I have all of that together. I can also look at the FAQs where there's a lot of information about the city-owned land inventory. So questions like, how many lots does the city own? How did they come to own this? Specifics on the application process. And then also information about what happens after you activate it. Once I'm ready to actually go ahead and apply, I would go to Find a Lot and Apply, where I can view the city-owned land map. So let's say I live in, for example, North Lawndale, I can zoom in here and I can see which lots are owned by the city, which are available for sale and which are not. So in blue, there's 126 city-owned land lots available for sale in North Lawndale, where there are 700 that are not for sale. And so as Kathy mentioned earlier, whether a lot was determined to be available for sale is based on a number of things. If there was already a plan in progress for the lot, it would not be available for sale if it's already in the process of being sold, or if the environmental review has not been completed. So let's say that I want to purchase a side yard. Let's say I live, right here, and I want to purchase this lot at 1515 South Christiana. So I can scroll over here and see a lot of information about the lot. I can see the PIN number, the zoning, the square footage, the market value, and then also 10% of the market value, which I would be eligible for as a next door property owner. And I can see that applications are open for any use allowed by zoning. If I didn't want, or I clicked on a lot that was gray, for example, that's not available at this time, I could click I'm interested in this parcel and fill out a short form about what I'm interested in, and then DPD will have that information to potentially look at that for future rounds for sale. But right now I want to apply for one that is available, so I'll click apply for this parcel. So my first step is to fill out the pre-screen questionnaire to make sure that I am eligible. So I'm going to enter my info here. Just put in a fake phone number here. I'll say I represent a local resident and that I want to purchase a side yard. So I'll need to make sure that I own property directly adjacent. Yes, it is my primary residence, and I have a copy of my deed and a proof of residency to show that I live there.
Margaret, this is Kathy. I just want to interrupt for a second. Last night we just got a question, and sometimes this is confusing. People were like uploading their tax bill or their mortgage, and they finally got to the deed. The deed is what you will need. So I just want to make that clear to people, because there was some, for various reasons, people that have. There are several documents that you get without the deed. Is the deed. The deed is the document to upload.
Thanks, Kathy. So next, if my application is accepted and I purchase, am I able to pay property taxes? Yes. And I'm able to fully maintain it, including mowing the grass and fencing. So based on my answers to these questions, I'm invited to apply. So I'll receive this applicant code. I'll also get this via email. So I will copy this code and then click start my application. Oops, so I need to log in here. So now I can actually go ahead and fill out my land sale application. So I'll paste in the code that I received here. And then I'll just go through and actually put in all the information. So what type of land sale am I applying for? I'm applying for a side yard. I'll fill out my name, email address, phone number, home address, some other questions about the project. For the parcel information, I'll just copy and paste that directly from the pre-screener. So I'll paste in the PIN number, the property address, the zoning, and then the pricing and everything. And then I'll answer some questions about the project, how I'm planning to use it. I'll upload a copy of my deed, and then a proof of residency, so my state ID or my utility bill from the last 30 days. Fill out some short demographic questions, and then I'll be able to submit. And so then it'll say your application's been received, and you'll also receive a confirmation email. So that's kind of the whole process for how to apply. The questions will vary slightly based on what you're actually applying for. So whether it's housing, commercial building, affordable housing, development, or open space, but it's all through this website. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret.
Okay, so I think we can move into some of the Q&A, which I think Bonnie is going to guide us
Right.
through.
There she is. Bonnie, you want to get us started on questions?
I will do that. Thank you guys for doing a wonderful job in explaining all of that. And we want to let everyone know, make sure that your questions go into the Q&A section. Some of you will be answered through direct typing, and some we will answer live. So here we go. We're going to start with Karen, who says, so why are they now 10% rather than $1 like before?
This is Kathy. So the city of Chicago has been selling land, has had a large inventory for the last, let's say, 40 years. And I just want to explain, like, the dollar lots was actually built off of another program where we were selling lots to adjacent owners, side yards. And that program was initiated in the late 80s, has still been active. That was still active all through the time we were marketing land for $1. So we are now, we have sold and will have sold roughly around, I would say, $1,600 to $1,800 lots for $1. And we started that in 2014, and then the last application was in 2018. We have now broadened the program. Again, we're always kind of looking at ways to improve and expand access to the city's vacant land. So we have, this time we wanted to make sure that we could open it up to a larger group of people. We still want a preference and we still want residents to apply. But we also did want to see if there were local developers or others that would be interested in developing housing. And so we have created this platform so we could do all those things at the same time. And we also did find, we tried to analyze our programs, and we did find the best, most maintained lots. I'm not going to say this is always the case, but the adjacent owner is in the best position to reactivate lots. So we have updated the program to be broader, and 10% is actually less than what we were doing under ANLEP, but yes, it is a little bit more than $1. But it is still well within reason for residents to purchase.
Okay, our next question is coming from Isaiah. What is this program's relevance to Chicago renters who are interested in property development?
So if I guess there's two parts to that question. If the person is asking if I'm a renter and I want to buy property to develop it, then, and they live in an area and there's a city-owned vacant lot, they're like, I'm renting, but I want to build a house, then they should apply to build a house, and they can apply. So that's how I'm interpreting the question. I don't know if there's a different question in there.
Well, okay, I'm going to jump in on this one too. What if I'm renting and I just want to stay renting, but I want to buy the property to build something else that I can rent to people too, that I'll own the building, but I won't be living in the building. Is that
then
okay?
I would apply under housing to build a house, to build a building. If I'm a renter and there's a vacant lot, I'll apply to buy a building. Anyone can apply. So a little bit, anyone can apply. There is no limit. We also got that question on application. Now, I'm just going to say, doesn't mean you're going to not have competition and then you're going to win. But if that's something you'd like to do on a vacant lot in a neighborhood where you're renting and you want to build something, then I would encourage you to apply.
Okay. And we want to encourage everyone, use the Q&A to ask your questions. Now, Alyssa, I think you've already answered this. Can a non-homeowner obtain a city lot?
Yep. Yes, apply it depends on what you want to do, but sure.
Okay.
We would like to see people that aren't homeowners in Chicago become homeowners.
Next question is, what is the purpose of the question asking if the application can be shared outside of the program evaluation team? Who else could it be shared with?
I don't know where that, well, we do, as a general process in the city, we do not share people's private information, even if we get a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act. So it's not like we're going to be sharing these with the press or anything. Yeah, we don't, I mean, it's not the city's intent to like, here's everybody who applied and everybody have an opinion on them. No, that is not the intent.
Right.
But the city, different staff people in the city will necessarily, of course, have to review them and then be in contact with the applicant.
I'll also add, so the question in the application, we're looking to evaluate the impact of the program. So we're partnering with UIC to do an academic impact evaluation. So we will share anonymized data with them. So we won't share your name or anything, but just your answers to the question. And they will be conducting some research to let us know outcomes of how this program has impacted the neighborhood, if it's impacted crime, if it's impacted home values or anything like that. So that's who else we would share it with. And as you suggest, there's a way to opt out of that. So if you're not interested in having that shared, you can click no, do not share my information.
Carol asks, I completed an application in December of 2019 under the adjacent lot program. How does this program affect my prior application?
Just like with our pending large lots, it should not. That if you're worried that we're still processing it, put your name and the lot you applied for in the chat and we will reassure you. But the applications that were already pending before we opened, we are still processing. And those should not show up as blue on the website.
Nathaniel says, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, what about the nuisance lots or empty lots that the alderman has plans for?
Well, if there are pending plans and the department and the alderman are working on those right now would not be available for sale because there is there's a project that's going to be coming. The nuisance lots, that's sort of a different question. But I did hear Alderman Urban last night, which I was not aware of, that a recent ordinance that would allow the city to remove cars or, things squatting on vacant lots that are on private property. So we do have that authority on city-owned lots. We didn't currently have that on private. So it's kind of like two things. Nuisance is a different thing than there's a plan for it, and we're working with someone to develop the lot.
Okay. Dennis says, can applications be contingent on purchasing multiple lots?
Contingent? I guess I would say you can put in the application that you want to buy the lot and that you want to buy more than one lot. And if you don't get all of them, then you can just decline. I don't know the contingency part.
All right. Someone wrote, I'm in the northern suburbs and I found some lots I'd like to build affordable housing on. Do you have referrals, partnerships to assist with funding development?
If you're looking to do affordable housing, then yes, that would be with the Department of Housing that we can refer. Someone can put in the chat a contact for this person. There are programs, yes. And the affordable housing, and I would encourage you to look at the application on ChiBlockBuilder for affordable housing, which could give you an idea of that. And I thought if you're doing affordable housing through the Department of Housing, the lots would be for $1.
Okay, Nicolette's question is, if I apply and am allowed to purchase a side lot and I leave the building I own and the side lot to my children, are they left with a double lot that has a building plus side lot, or could they decide to develop it later on?
I think this is a misconception for everybody about side yards and even dollar lots. There is no restriction on building on these properties. If you're a large lot buyer, you're adjacent neighbors like the person was, or you're buying a side yard here, you can do whatever is allowed by zoning on that lot, which includes building a residential. I mean, it'll be residential zone. There's no restriction on building. There is a restriction on turning over the land right away, right? We want you to hold the land for 5 years because this isn't about, people buying and flipping, but there's no restriction on building. I just want to make that clear.
Derek is asking, what's the difference between an urban farm and community garden on those lots?
Well, that is a zoning issue, and just sort of big picture, urban farms typically come with like large compost piles, and they're also more commercial. So those right now, urban farms, if you're going to do that kind of scale of growing and selling and composting, those are only allowed in certain zoning categories, not residential. Community garden is basically neighbors planting on a lot. Okay. And they're not intending to sell produce or anything from their lot.
Merlene, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to jump in. There's also, I don't know if I can paste the link directly, but there's an urban agriculture FAQ document that the city has. So I think if you just Google urban agriculture FAQs, City of Chicago, you should be able to find that. And that provides some more specifics on there too.
And I guess I would follow up with that, Margaret, as if you're looking to do urban farming, I would encourage you to look at the commercial lots on ChiBlockBuilder, because that would be the approach. If urban farming, really you're going to want to make, you're growing and want to make money off of the produce, look at the commercial lots. That should be the appropriate zoning for that use.
Okay. Merlene, what about the vacant lots that have been previously purchased by neighbors but have not been kept up as promised or have been neglected? Are they
well, if that is the case, that is why we're getting a little bit more rigorous on our applications here. Asking people what they're wanting to make sure they're going to be able to do something, and they have thought about it and have some kind of financing, even if it's just for fencing and a bench. So that is one of the reasons, and it's one of the evolutions of how we're selling the land. If it's a problem and there's not upkeep, then they can be ticketed.
Okay, Kendra asks, are there companies assisting with funding?
Companies assisting with funding? No, there are a couple, like Margaret said, there's an urban ag application kind of thing out there, but we don't have any particular companies helping with funding. Although I would say that Wintrust Bank was at the event last night about, and they are very open to providing, as they said, loans and such. So I would contact Wintrust Bank as one. And I just say this because they were at an event last night and were providing that kind of information to people asking that question.
Okay, Davey asks, what evidence do you want to see for community involvement and buy-in?
And I'm assuming this question is for someone who's going to do an open space and they on a residential block and they don't live there. And so it would be maybe some, you've talked to neighbors on the block and they want to participate in this open space, right? The thought on this is that just to have someone who doesn't have any relationship with anybody on a block come in and do an open space, it may not be the best start to that kind of project. So I would encourage you to, maybe you already have a relationship with people on the block. Letters, names of people that could be contacted or something. But the idea is that, you're doing that and there's people on the block who are going to be engaged or really want you to do it.
Okay. Ellis is asking, what about a small nonprofit or social enterprise? Is that still commercial?
I guess it depends on what you're doing. I don't think nonprofit or social enterprise in and of itself, it's what you do on the property, not who you are, right? The zoning is what you use the property for, not who's doing the using. Because you could have a house for, people that need assistance, and you're a social service agency, and that's a residential use, for example. But yes, they should apply and talk about what they want to do on the land. Sorry.
That's okay. Michael asks, if two people want to purchase a side yard and one wants to use it as a yard and the other wants to build something, which party, and the question which party would be more likely to win the bid? Is preference given to people wanting to build on the lots?
Excellent question. And like I said, we have two different priorities. Now, first, I'm going to answer the question in two ways. We have encountered this problem with both the Adjacent Neighbors program since the 80s and the Dollar Lot program. And when two owners on either side of a city-owned vacant lot, what we have done is basically the lottery ball in a cage, right? That's a fair way to do it when they have the same use. If there's a person that wants to build on the lot and a person that wants a side yard, whether adjacent or not, that is going to be a conversation that we're going to be looking at all of those together, and we'll be working with the alderman's office and talking about the community and, you know, figure out the two competing people on the block. We have found the best way to do that is just to pull ahead, you know, move the ball.
Okay. Demetrius asked, I'm sorry, they keep jumping. If the application is approved, can you explain the financial timeline scenario, i.e. escrow, proof of funds, etc.?
Great question. I don't think we went over that in the presentation. Now that would apply primarily for a development project. So just as the side yards, we anticipate will be the easiest to process because, you know, that's sort of financing you may have or you have planned. If you're doing any kind of housing project or any kind of commercial project, we expect to work with you, and that would be people in the, you know, planning bureau, that would be people in the Department of Housing. You're going to have to go a little further after you are accepted as the eligible applicant, right? So you will have to show more details on what you're trying to build. You will have to show more details on your financing. And we would close on the property after you would get building permits as part of that. So that's going to be at least a 6-month process for any building project. And there will be, you know, you'll be working with one of the departments on that. So it really depends on what you're doing.
Okay, we also want to let everyone use that Q&A. Don't use the chat, use the Q&A. And if you want to learn more and you don't have much time here, chicago.gov/blockbuilder will give you more information also. Question from Maria: how long after purchasing the lot do you have before you're required to do something with it?
Well, in your application, you're going to tell us that you're going to start taking care of it right away. So I guess if, like I said, so I just kind of explained the housing and development project timeline. So that would be what this question seems to be more like the side yard or open space. We're going to want to see action, you know, cleaning right away, fencing if it's not adjacent to your property right away. So we, you know, that it would be to your benefit to explain that you're going to be doing that right away in the application. Because if you're not, you may be beat out by someone who is going to. Because we are looking to get these lots secured.
And we're letting everyone know, and it looks like we've come to the end. A lot of you have been answered. Your question has been answered through the Q&A portal. Okay, here's one.
I think there's, sorry.
Okay.
I was going to say there was a couple that I think I marked as wanting to answer live, but maybe it doesn't show up for you. So that was my bad. So I'll read those out. So is the city of Chicago responsible for closing any closing costs, or are those passed on to the buyers?
Well, I think there is a $50, that may have gone up, I don't know if that's, but there is a recording fee that will be part of, yes, you will have to pay the recording fee. But I just want to assure people too, last night of that, like, will you inherit liens? Will you, like, water liens? No, the city will take care of all of those things. So you get a clear title, you get, you know, environmental clearance, but you will have to pay the recorder of deeds costs, which I, you know, $550 to $500 or so. I'm not quite sure what it is right now, but yes, that would be the only other cost.
Okay, I have one, Margaret. Logan, what permits would be required to build a park or green space on the property?
If it's residentially zoned, that is allowable by zoning. Now, your fencing, depending on what you know, depending if you're doing something larger, but if you're just talking about, I'm going to fence it with, you know, whatever's allowed by zoning, 5 feet, and you're going to put benches and trees, there are no permits for that.
Okay. It's on you, Margaret.
Sorry. Thanks. Is there any way to seek land for an anticipated use that does not comply with current zoning? For example, could I seek commercial use for a parcel currently zoned residential if I had a zoning amendment application and support from my alderman?
Well, I would say you could submit the application. I mean, you know, I think that would have to be looked at. We are definitely, it's easiest to do. Let me put it this way. The easiest thing to do to reactivate these lands is do whatever's allowed by zoning. That doesn't mean that uses that we don't change, the zoning isn't changed for other uses. So I would encourage, you know, spell that out in the application. What I would do.
Okay, I got this one, Margaret. I heard that lots of the Woodlawn area are not available in this program. Is that true? If so, what program is managing the Woodlawn lots?
So yeah, most of the Woodlawn lots are not for sale in this at this time through this ChiBlockBuilder. There's a separate process there. Maggie or Meg, not Meg. Maggie, can you answer that? I'm not the best one to answer that. I think you're closer to that, or Margaret. The program whereby lots in Woodlawn are being sold.
So right now, the Woodlawn housing ordinance really stipulates what and how vacant land can be sold in Woodlawn, specifically around housing. So the first version of the Woodlawn housing RFA has closed, and I believe DOH right now is evaluating those applications. Maybe Maggie can speak to any other opportunities to purchase land in Woodlawn aside from the DOH RFA.
Right now, it is still an internal conversation with DOH and the Department of Law because of the ordinance.
Okay, we can move on to Stephens. Is there any way to seek land for an anticipated use that does not comply with current zoning? For example, could I seek commercial use for a parcel currently zoned residential if I had a zoning amendment application and support from my alderman?
So we just answered that question.
Yeah, I thought you did.
Right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And again, put in an application. Can't guarantee anything, but.
Okay, if I purchase property now and my idea changed, do I have a wait period?
You have a wait period. Well, if you purchase the property, like I said, if it's a side yard and you bought it as a side yard and then you decide you want to build a house, there's no wait period. Go ahead and do that. You're going to have to go through, you know, get permits for that. But the side yard is meant, yes, to expand people's property, but it also, again, meant to give residents who live there the opportunity to build housing for their relatives, or, you know, to build housing and sell it. So that you can just go ahead and do. If you applied to do housing and you're working, that conversation and you change your mind, I don't know what that might be, but you'll be working with someone from Department of Housing or Planning. So, you know, the bottom line is you can do whatever is allowed by zoning.
Okay, I think you've already answered this question in another one, but just in case, if 5 bids come in, how is the winner picked?
Well, yes, that is, if 5 bids come in, we're going to be looking at all 5 bids for one property. And again, we're going to be looking at the priorities for the community. And the priorities for the community vary, right? The city has lots of communities and different priorities. We will look at those. First of all, I think what would rise to the top would be the best application. There could be 5 applications and some just don't look like they're going to make it. But that's going to have to be a community discussion, right? With DPD, DOH, and with the aldermen, and how we want to prioritize based on what are the priorities for the community, which one fits that the best.
Okay, this one is a long one. Is any info on the environmental review process for the grayed out lots available? It seems like recently the city has moved towards a pretty strict interpretation of brownfield.
Yes. So every lot that you see that we've done. We have done a very preliminary environmental of every lot. And basically what was done is things that that were easy to say, oh yeah, we don't have to look at that anymore. And that would be our Department of Assets and Information Services, the people that run Brownfield. If it was easy to see there were no records, then they're green and they're ready to go. There's a lot of them that they need to look at a few more of the records to say, oh yeah, it can be so, this is the issue. It's not really a problem. There will be lots out there that are really problematic, but that percentage is very low. And we want to make sure that none of those are sold and people don't understand that. So that information is there. We have it. And when you get the lot, you will get I believe you get the basic information. And there's an FAQ on the website that talks more in depth about that process. So I would encourage you to look at that.
Okay, does neighborhood open space require that it be always open to the public, or can it be open only part of the time? Should it be fenced in?
Well, yes, let's go backwards. If it's a neighborhood open space and it's not adjacent to someone's residency, it needs to be fenced in. That is a yes. Does it have to be open to the broad public? Typically, though, the little open spaces on a block are not open to the general public. So I would explain how you want people to access the open space. But no, there's no rule. It's got to be open park district hours like some other kind of public open space.
Can multiple lots on a block be used for multi-unit affordable housing combined into one PIN number for property tax reasons?
I suppose you could go there, yes. I mean, that's a lot of steps, right? You're going to have to get pinned together and you're going to have to do the zoning, but there's nothing prohibiting that.
Okay. If I have a lot that's adjacent to my property that I've already been maintenance in for years, how likely is that the city would give it to me?
Well, we're selling the land, not giving it. But I would say you're one of the priority resident side yard kinds of applicants. I would put that fact in my application.
Okay, we want to let everyone know, use the Q&A. A lot of your questions are being answered through the Q&A. So we're going to be closing out pretty soon. But don't worry about it. If we haven't gotten to your question yet, we will get to it. Everybody's question will be answered. Excuse me. Here's one that says, I've heard that UFC has purchased a lot of the lots going towards State Street in Woodlawn. If this is true, why was this allowed before residents?
We'd have to get back to you on that. I don't have an answer to that. I don't know that actually has happened. So that's just something we'll have to respond with some of these other questions.
All right. Well, it seems like we've gone through the questions and we've answered most of them. If we have not, then we will make sure that you get an answer to your question. Remember, building blocks one lot at a time is a wonderful, wonderful way to expand your property and also become a homeowner or a lot owner or a property owner. If you want to learn more, chicago.gov/blockbuilder is where you can go to. We want to thank, Kathleen Dickett and all of the people that have been on who are answering your questions and doing a great job doing it. Until next time, keep your eye to the sky is what I always say, and make sure you get in there and buy that property. Thank you all for attending the meeting. This call is being recorded and you can find it at YouTube, and I'm backstage, so it doesn't matter. But if I'm still on YouTube /watch GLOML, you can find it there. Thank you.